Hello and welcome to Paper Plays Julie K.
Thanks so much for stopping by and checking out my latest design team project for Kraft Supplies for You. Again, Kraft Supplies for You is an online store that carries laces, trims, doilies, embellishment, flowers, bling, appliques. There's just so much fun stuff in this store that you really have to go check it out if you haven't checked it out. And then I also wanted to let you know that the 30% off sale has continued and it's going to go on through the end of this month, which is January. So make sure if you've been wanting to pick something up that now is the time to do it, because 30% off is a great deal. I think her prices are fabulous just to begin with, but another 30% off means you get a little bit more bang for your buck. And before I go into my project, I just wanted to show you some of the supplies that I use for today's project. I did use some of this 3D loopy trim. This is the cream color and I chose to dye it for my today's project, but you can also purchase it in other colors in the store. There's black and there's a couple shades of blue and there's pink and a really pretty mint green. So I did use that, and usually what I choose to do is to just snip it off of the ribbon here and use it as an embellishment, but you could also use it as is and attach it to some sort of project that way, but I like to use it as little embellishments. I did use some of this organza trim, and she does have one of her grab bags available right now is organza trim. I also used some of this little cotton trim. It is kind of a more of an off-white or a cream color. It feels wonderful. It's really nice trim. I have a little bit of this dangle trim left that I use. This is like from one of my first design team packages, but I did use some of that, and this is all that I have left of that. I also used this trim, which I think it was a newer trim in our store, but I had a lot of fun with this one. I just really like this one with the beads on it. So I used that one for today's project. I also use this gorgeous pink rosebud trim. She also does carry this in white, but it's a wonderful trim for edging photos or images. Also, just if you just need a little bit of color, which is what I needed. And so this was perfect for my project for today. I'm also going to be using this on the shadow box that I'm creating for this month also. So you will see this again later this month. I also used some of this Kraft Supply for You trim, which is another gorgeous trim. I also used this little applique, and when you purchase this one you actually get two, so I do have this one left. This was a larger collar applique that I picked up in my design team, and I cut off a lot of it, so this is all that I have left, but there's still lots you can do with this and cut up. There's still flowers, and what I ended up doing is, if you can kind of see here, because this looked real similar to the piece that I cut off, is I just cut around here, and then you have a nice little dangle where you can add another layer of flower on top, and then you have these little swirls down here. So that's what I did. There was a couple pieces that I cut off from this one. And then I also used, she has this little flower applique, and there's actually like 3 or 4 flowers on it, and this was part of it too. But I used the whole rest of it other than this one. So I'll try and point that out on here. And then I also used bling on one of the projects I'm sharing with you today, and this was the bling that I used. I had 2 pieces of this one. It's a little crown. Really super cute. I do love that one, and we'll probably be using this one again sometime soon. And I also used a doily from the mixed bag that I picked up this time around. So those are everything that I use, and again, I'll point out anything else on my project if I didn't show it already. So for today's project, I did decide to decorate a couple of burlap bags. I had found these plain burlap bags not too long ago for next to nothing, and they were screaming to me that they really needed to be altered and decorated. So I did one kind of more of a vintage, shabby type feel, and the other one that I created is a little bit more shabby chic. And so here's the first one. And so what I started off with again was just a plain burlap bag. It was this color up here. I did layer a piece of lace from my stash on the background. And then from there I just kind of layered up trims on the top and the bottom and the sides. On the top, I did add this little trim that's sticking out here. It's just a little cotton trim, crochet trim. And then on top of that, I had this really pretty trim that I got from my friend Sherry. So thank you so much for that, Sherry. It worked perfect for this project. And then I added a few flat back pearls on top of that. And then at the very top, I edged it with this gorgeous rosebud trim from Kraft Supplies for You. This is becoming like one of my favorite new smaller edging type trims at Kraft Supplies for You. She does also carry that in white. Along the sides, I did have this trim right here, and this was from my stash, and I did that on both sides. At the very bottom of the bag, I do have a couple layers. The first layer is that dangle trim that's from Kraft Supplies for You. It's kind of a cream colored. And then on top of that, I did this crochet cotton trim, and I really love this one. It's that one that's really soft. And so on top of that, I just added some more flat back pearls just to kind of carry out my theme. I have lots of pearls throughout this project. And then on top of that, I added this gorgeous trim that also had pearls on it. And one more layer of that rosebud trim. And so that's kind of my edging. And then my main center right here, I started off with an image of the Eiffel Tower from Paris. I did edge some of it with some of the flat back pearl trim that Kraft Supplies for You carries. Again, this is one of my favorite kind of go-to trims. I love edging things with that. And then after that, I did add a half doily up at the top, and this was part of the mixed doily bag that I got. It was that gorgeous pink color. And so I kind of ran with that color, and that's why I added the little rosebud trim at the top. And then I also dyed my 3D loopy trim as close as I could get to that same color pink. And then you can kind of see throughout, I do have some different flowers. I had said that that one bigger flower that I had left, this one right here, there were like 3 together on this one. And so I just layered up to edge it a little bit with that. And then on top of this one, I added the pearl, and this one I added the 3D loopy trim again that I dyed. I did have a couple other little flower appliques left over from bits and pieces from other like collar type appliques from Kraft Supplies for You, so I just used those up here. Then right here was that long collar applique that I showed you. This one right here. And so I have part of it kind of edged around here, and then I added a second piece on top of it so this hangs. And to finish it off, I did add some more flat back pearls on all of the flowers. I just love that look. And then the back side I did leave relatively plain. You just see the lace trim that I put down. I did use the other half of that doily just so I used it up. Another 3D loopy trim that I dyed with a little remnant piece left underneath it. Some more flat back pearl trim. There's some more little cotton crochet trim that I got from my friend Sherry hiding behind this. The exact same trim that I used here. And then again at the bottom I used that gorgeous trim, cotton crochet trim, which was this one, which I didn't show you before. I use that on the front side too, but I use that under here as a layer, and then of course this beaded trim on top of it. But I do love this trim too. This is another really fun one from Kraft Supply for You. So that was my first bag, and I just love having bags like this on hand for when you gift people items. So here's the second one that I created today, and this one has a little bit more of a shabby chic feel, where again that first one was a little bit more of a vintage shabby feel. This one I chose to use quite a few different Kraft Supply for You products. Up at the top, after I laid, again I did the same thing, I just started with a piece of lace from my stash and glued that down. And I edged it with some of this trim from my stash. Up at the top, I did add this trim from Kraft Supplies for You. I also added just some little appliques that I had in my stash and some flowers up at the top, just to kind of finish it off. And I chose this really cute image that I got off of Pinterest of this angel. And I did add a little bit of fiber fill behind it, so there's a little bit of height to it. But I did go around it with this gorgeous organza trim from Kraft Supplies for You, and I edged it with the flat back pearl trim. And then I added some pearls on top of that flat back pearl trim. And then of course you can see here I used one of those cute little bling pieces from Kraft Supplies for You, the little tiara for this girl, or the crown. I thought that was cute, putting that on top of her head. And then down here is one of the appliques from Kraft Supplies for You that I added. And then these two little appliques are also from Kraft Supplies for You. They're my last two, so I didn't show them at the very beginning. Well, I might have one more that I tea dyed in my stash, but I did use those right there just to kind of edge off the corners. Underneath there you can see a little bit more of this Kraft Supply for You trim. And then at the bottom I just used some dangle trim from my stash. I had some fringe trim and then this little beaded trim with a little bit of dangle on it at the very bottom. And so that was the front. And then the back side, I just left this pretty plain. Up at the top, I just ran some more of that Kraft Supply for You trim. I really like this one. And I'm thinking I actually might go back in and add some flat back pearls right along here and then on these other ones too. And then I just used the same fringe trim again at the bottom on the back. And then the same trim at the side. So that was my second bag that I completed. Thank you again so much for joining me today. And again, I will leave all the links for Kraft Supplies for You below in the description box. There is a .net store and a Zibbit store, and both of them have the 30% off sale going on. I will also leave all of the other social media sites for Kraft Supplies for You. There's a Facebook page, a Pinterest page, Instagram, and a blog. So make sure you guys go and check those out. I will also leave links for some of my past design team projects if you guys are interested in checking those out. And then also links for the other ladies who are on the design team. So again, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day and happy crafting.